Welcome to the show. As you might have noticed, Fort Ritchie has been in the news a lot lately. You may have heard the reports, but are you sure you know the whole story? Tonight, we're pleased to welcome Washington County Administrator Greg Murray to give us the facts. Greg, welcome.
Thank you.
Ron, why don't you get us started here?
Greg, many years ago, we started off with the BRAC Commission, as you're very much aware, and a couple of us even went to Boston to a BRAC Commission conference back then with Jim LaFleur, who was then the base commander. And there's so much that's happened since that period of time. And now it's come full circle, and some of the things that people even thought about a long time ago is the county actually taking the role of moving the base forward. How is that going to be done? How will the county fit into that process? And maybe you even get into water and sewer issues, which was something that was discussed a long time ago.
Well, certainly, and again, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be able to give some accurate information for people to disseminate and assimilate so that they know what's going on at Fort Ritchie. Actually, the county, beginning in 1998, has had a relationship with the Army. The county took over utilities even back then outside the base for wastewater. Of course, the water systems were on the base. And ever since, the county has worked in a capacity to help facilitate growth and development in that area, including on the base itself. Of course, people began leaving the base through the BRAC closure, and even in 2002 and since, there's been a concerted effort by people that have been very dedicated in trying to show that the base could be redeveloped and become a vibrant part of the community again. That redevelopment took many forms, including a master developer that had been there at some point and then decided that that wasn't the venture that they needed to be involved in. And each time something happens on the base, the county is intricately involved. When it comes to master development in any capacity, some of the first questions are, what can the county do for economic incentives? What is the special economic development zone that allows zoning, and what type of businesses can be developed there based on the zoning the county approves? What's your subdivision ordinance? Can you waive requirements for the roads to not be quite as wide because in this specific area we can't develop that if the county doesn't allow this? Who will take over the lakes? Who will take over the dam? Who will manage the open space when it's redeveloped and put on the tax rolls? So by default, the county has been intricately involved as a component of master development of that base since the very beginning. Even though the county had no direct say over the development potential or what developed there, the county had to lay the parameters so that that development could occur. So at some point, when the Penmar Development Corporation, through the work that they had done, positioned the base so that it was ripe for certain things to occur. They did a lot of hard work up there that allowed that base to be in a position that the county could then come in and say, we've been so intricately involved all this time, and knowing that this base, it's in a remote part of the county, it doesn't have visibility, it doesn't have accessibility, it's something that someone has to want to be at so that it can be redeveloped. What can the county do, given the fact that we've been involved so intricately from the beginning, to facilitate that development? Because if it does not occur, then the base becomes a drain on the tax rolls, it becomes a drain to the taxpayer, and you have something that the county, in essence, has to maintain in perpetuity. If we can help that or facilitate that development by finding someone that specifically wants to be there, then the county can put that back on the tax rolls, increase the tax base, and we can have something that's a vibrant part of that community and the surrounding area that allows people to, again, open their shops, to continue to expand their small businesses that are already located there, as well as facilitate growth and development of new businesses that would be coming into the area. So the county determined at that point that if we found someone with that level of interest, that we would take the steps necessary to work with the Penmar Development Corporation and allow the county to then take ownership of the property, become the master development developer, and through our agent, we would then help develop the fort into a multifunction, multi-use type environment where we had people that could live, work, and play, and bring back some of the vibrant amenities that used to be there that no longer existed when the BRAC closure caused the fort to, of course, be abandoned.
So why do you believe the county should be the developer? as opposed to a private firm?
Well, I think that the county, of course, needs to be the one that leads the development at this point. We haven't always had that position. We've tried to facilitate the development, but when the county facilitates the development, even as much as an economic development zone or a zone such as tax increment financing, where we can take an incremental portion of the taxes that are generated by businesses coming there and put those back into the infrastructure that's needed for the base so that that can continue to grow and develop. The county has always been more of a third party, that someone comes to the developer ultimately has to come to the county has to work through the process back through another party, back to the developer, and make things happen. That not only became cumbersome, but of course many businesses want to work at the speed of business, and they have this perception that government doesn't work at the speed of business. Of course, what we like to do is make sure we outpace them, so we're waiting on them and they're not waiting on us. And I always say, trust us for the government, so we can do that. Not everyone believes that until they become more involved. So what we've done is take the position that the county needs to be directly hands-on so that we can facilitate that speed that's necessary when people are interested, and show that county government in Washington County, the citizens, the support that we have in county government itself, the people that we have volunteering, the Penmar Development Corporation that's done the amount of work they've done, have all facilitated an environment where we can certainly allow businesses to come in. We have incentives that can attract those businesses. We can make that a vibrant part of the community. We can do it quickly, and we can facilitate that in a way that people don't have a taste in their mouth like, well, it's a good idea, but it's not visible, it's not accessible. Why do we want to be there if we're going to have to go through hoops that just cost us additional money, knowing that if there's not a specific clientele we can attract to a location like this, that our bottom line is not going to be as profitable or lucrative as it might be if we had someone in government that was working directly with us and has a vested interest in making us successful.
Greg, along those lines, and you have told us a lot about the planning up to this point, but in regards to the future, myself and I'm sure the community is interested to know what are the specific plans? What do you see for the future? We have a specific site plan that's been developed that is fairly consistent with others that we've seen in the past. When we had the master developer there previously, there was a site plan that showed the areas that could generally be developed. There's flat areas, there's areas around the lake, there's areas that are more distal towards the mountains, and then there's areas that are unimproved at this point that certainly can be used for future development, as well as utilities such as a new substation, a gas farm that can serve the structures that are there that have been developed in the interim, that are also amenities that allow businesses to come in and develop. So as we look at those things and we try to determine what's best for that development, I'm going to have to go back to the original question. Would you repeat that again? Sure. Just the plans specifically for the future.
Yes, the original development, I got lost in then how good the amenities were and forgot where I was going with. When we look at the amenities that are there and try to determine who would benefit from those, we've determined that there are several things. When we look at how can we live, work, and play, which has been a mantra of the county and as many others use also for quite some time, we think that with the amenities that are there, if we have anchor institutions, it's not dissimilar to what we're trying to do with some of the city center project in Hagerstown. If we have anchor institutions, which many of those become university type systems or in conjunction with university systems that exist, expansions of those systems, medical, if we have some commercial, some pharmaceutical type things that are interested. If we have things that are anchor institutions that need amenities, if we have a large base of students and teachers that need places to go, they need places to live, they need to shop, they need to buy groceries, things like around the lake, amenities such as a movie theater or retail or walking spaces that people can actually locate on the base and use that as a small city, as it is a small city right now, and have things that they can not only work there, things like University System of Maryland that's worked with one of the universities we've been in discussion with that's now signed an MOU that University System of Maryland also signed on to continue to do some of their medical research and the things that they've been working on together for years on Fort Ritchie. When that locates there and you have the professors, the teachers, the students, the ones that are working on those things, they want somewhere to live, which facilitates the housing component. They need something to do, which facilitates some of the retail that's being proposed. They need amenities to bring people in from other locations when they're having conventions, when they're doing certain things, which facilitates one of the areas that a convention center and even potentially a water park type scenario is now being discussed with someone ready to actually sign a letter of intent to do that in the next couple weeks that have been very successful in other areas doing that. We have the ability now to focus on what should the future hold as far as the type and quantity of institutions and businesses that allow this to become that total 600-acre live, work, play environment that would provide a vibrancy to the not only the region but an increase in the tax base to Washington County. So the anchor institutions are the ones that really are targeted to ensure that there's a built-in clientele that would then facilitate the economic, retail, commercial, et cetera, growth that we could see on the base to provide the jobs in the area, in the region, and would help facilitate the increase in that tax base.
Greg, following up on her question, where do you see the potential economic benefits to not just the Cascade area in Fort Ritchie, but to the county in general?
Well, we've looked at the potential for the businesses that are interested in this project specifically. If we did a full build out of the site plan as it's currently conceived, it would be about $480 million. And we have three lists. We have list A, B, and C, ones that are ready to commit right now and want to move forward and do something on the forward. One that is looking at potentially when this develops, I want to be included, and then ones further down the road. We certainly know that this also spills over into other areas like Mount Etna Farms, like downtown Hagerstown, other university systems, et cetera. But out of that $480 million investment, if we only had a quarter of that, if we had $100 million of taxable investment in that area, which would produce probably about 500 jobs, and that would be a very minimum. That would give us $1 million additional tax base just on that $100 million worth of investment. It doesn't take much to actually get there when you're talking about large anchor institutions and some of the commercial and retail that have already committed to that area. So we think it can be a very positive thing to the area, to the taxpayer. It can help improve Washington County. It can do something that many people have spent a lot of time trying to facilitate, such as Penmar Development, the volunteers, the other residents in the area, and Washington County itself for quite some time. We think it can have a very positive impact and a bright future with the plan as it's conceived.
Okay.
So how has the community been supportive in this endeavor?
I think the community is being encouraged to be participative in the development plan. We've had many people for years, not only in their involvement with Penmar Development Corporation, but also other initiatives that have said, we support you doing something here. And we've had much of that. Currently, we're getting phone calls, we're getting people that want to be involved, et cetera. And they've said we certainly support what's happening at Fort Ritchie and want that to continue because we see it as a positive impact. Not everyone will be happy. A lot of people would certainly probably like to see nothing change. You know, if you go into an area that you don't want to see growth and development, forgetting what it was and what the mission has been. So with that, we certainly want to encourage community involvement, and we're looking forward to the citizens embracing that and supporting the initiative.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Since we're out of time, our panel meets with Leslie Hendrickson to talk with us about agriculture around the county. We're back in 3 minutes.